Hello everyone and welcome back to Riverview, or sort of realistic North American themed metropolitan area here in City Skylines 2. As you can probably see, Riverview is sporting some pretty beautiful fall colors. It's late September, soon turning to October, which means that all the trees are looking absolutely beautiful and there's just a really cozy feeling throughout the entire city. Now, pretty colors aside, in the most recent episode we worked on some major infrastructure changes to try and fix some of the worst traffic hotspots of this by now pretty big city. So the biggest change is centered around this area here, where we relieved a lot of traffic issues entering to and from Northport, which with 13,000 employees is the most important industrial hub and job center of the metro area. But we also did some minor changes to some of the traffic rules and road layouts here in downtown Riverview, as traffic got really heavy and just completely bogged up. We can't really see the effects of those changes right now because it's effectively past midnight, so traffic is very low, but it did seem to kind of help. Now, what the previous episode also highlighted, despite my infrastructure planning inadequacies, was just how old and run down, so to speak, our public transport networks here in Riverview really are. The bus lines haven't been updated for many episodes, neither has the tram network. So I asked you guys whether we should dedicate a full episode, maybe even more, to completely revamping the bus network. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. And as always, right before we begin, I want to thank you guys so much for all the support and provide a friendly reminder that if you enjoy my content, I would really appreciate a thumbs up on this video. Thank you. So before I start deleting everything, let's just make an assessment of the current situation. I think we're not gonna start messing with tram networks just yet, but I am planning to create some new ones. If not in this episode, then in future episodes, so that should be really exciting. But anyway, the current tram line we've got is the RTA, the Riverview Transit Authority Blue Line. And it's a pretty extensive beast, so I'll just kind of follow the full line. It terminates at the Riverview Airport, then it goes directly through the heart of Southside, which is a neighborhood we actually densified quite a bit in the most recent episode, so this line should see even more activity now. Then it follows Madison Street, this major avenue, all the way north before turning right on Sunnyside Avenue and entering this massive traffic circle here in what is pretty much the heart of downtown, serving Riverview Central Station as well. Then it goes south along Sycamore Street before it turns east, crossing the Blackwell Bridge, going to the heart of East Riverview. Yeah, such a creative name. And then it turns south alongside Summit Street before it terminates in the southern suburbs of East Riverview. So basically the coverage of this line is, let's see if I can select it, is actually pretty good. It's seeing an alright amount of line usage, but most cars have a pretty healthy amount of passengers. Some cars are almost full, but not quite. And once again, if we check the time, then simulation wise this shouldn't really be rush hour, so I'm expecting that the line usage is going to steadily increase as we start entering the morning rush hours. But basically I don't think we're gonna make any changes to this line right now. So the tram situation is all right, it's passable. The bus situation is where things really get messy. I mean, just see the line usage difference here, and too few lines. Let's just start. Okay, we'll start from the top. The RTA Downtown College line is very simple. It starts from the downtown bus station, goes through the most built up areas of Riverview with a few stops, and then it goes through the Riverview College grounds while also covering a bit of the southern suburbs of East Riverview as well as most of the downtown. So it's a pretty simple line. It's seeing very high line usage. To appease progressive students, it's using electric buses as well. So things are generally okay. although it could probably serve a few more areas than it does currently. The issues starts arising when we look at some of the other lines, because they are just complete wonk. Let's start with, this is RTA line 1. So I think this is a bus line that has its history way back in like early access times of Riverview and City Skylines 2. And you can kind of tell that I haven't really touched it, even though I've done so many changes to the downtown core of Riverview over these past, it's like 20 or 21 episodes, because it's a complete mess. I mean, the initial idea here was pretty solid. It serves Eastport, which at the time was one of the major industrial hubs, and it serves Westground, which at the time, once again, was the primary outside of downtown office hub. And these places still, I mean, Westground provides 6,000 job positions. Eastport, which is more industrial, has 2,500. So the line is still important, and it's important areas, but it's very restrictive coverage the line has, you know. And you know, the way it covers downtown is just I mean yeah, this is terrible. So this is definitely a line which we should probably just completely delete and redo from scratch, and we'll probably name it RTA L1, or maybe a suggestion from you guys, just as an you know, just to respect that it was kind of the first line. But yeah, it should probably just go. It's bad. The next line is the RTA L3, which is definitely the biggest line in the city, the green line here, and it's a complete mess. And we did updates to it in the most recent episode, just to try and kind of, you know, hot fix it, or quick fix it is probably the better term, but it doesn't make any sense. And many of you guys were quick to point out that, dude, it doesn't make any sense, and I completely agree. So it's probably good we're doing this episode. But basically, it originates at downtown. And the original idea for this line, it's many episodes ago, but I think it's good to get the context right, is that it would serve the old port. The old port is now less important as a job hub, at least for industrial jobs, because we built the yard, which is this massive redevelopment project a few episodes ago. So there's less industry here, but it's still an important job hub. So it would serve Old Port, and then it would serve the northern suburbs of Riverview, terminating at North Caldwell. And then at some point in time, I made a decision to bring it across the dam here and serve some of the northeastern suburbs of the city and the northern part of the city of New Chelsea. And this is where things really got out of hand and completely messy, and it's just weird now. We might be able to salvage this by just kind of configuring the existing line, you know, maybe making it a little more small and a little more direct instead of outright deleting it, but it's definitely a mess. And it's a very busy line, so it's not like it's not functional, but look at this. There's something wrong with me. And the buses tell the truth. Anyways, let's just have a look at the last line, which is the RTA L4. And it's not active currently because it's only active during daytime. And how I wish I could say that that's intentional, that's on purpose due to my planning skills. It's probably just a mistake on my part. And where even is this line? Let's just change the color. So just make it red. So this is one of the, it's an earlier line as well, but it's not that early because oh yeah, that's right. So this is the rural line that serves much of the eastern part of the metro area as it turns into farmland. I remember this. We built this because these areas were facing abandonment due to no public transit options or something like that. At least things were pretty rough out here. So I got this line in place to kind of serve some of the rural outskirts as well. And so I think I may actually have made it intentionally a day line to kind of simulate that there'd probably not be enough, you know, passenger demand during nighttime, because these areas are there's like, you know, a few hundred people live out here, because the game actually does a pretty good job at simulating single family houses, you know, except for the houses that are owned by dogs and stuff. You know, generally it works all right. But this line is gonna need some rework as well. I mean, I don't have anything against having a line to serve this, but it should probably extend, you know, to serve Kendrick as well, and just be remade, because it looks like a complete mess. And I just realized I'd forgotten to change the map theme to this Vivid Cities 4K map theme, which we switched to in the previous episode. So sorry about the default theme for the intro here, but things are working now. So where do we start? Well, it's usually done me pretty well in the past to take the input from you guys seriously, so I think we're gonna highlight this suggestion here, because that's gonna require a pretty small change to an existing line. So the suggestion is basically to have a line going from downtown Riverview across to East Riverview and all the way out here to the suburb of Kendrick, which we built a handful of episodes ago. And this is a pretty cool suggestion, because it's obviously going to enable us to continue to cover this rural area that we are already sort of covering, and then it's going to integrate the suburb of Kendrick much better with the actual metro area. Another cool thing with this suggestion is that we might even be able to just change the RTA L4 line to actually accommodate this new route, because it sort of covers some of this ground already. So we'll probably just need some extra bus stops and bus shelters, and then change the existing line. So if we move out to Kendrick, we could have just have the line terminate here on the main commercial strip. But I think for even better integration, then adding a few stops out here on like the northern stretches of the town would probably be a good idea. At least it's gonna make the line a little more interesting. As for efficiency, I don't really know how efficient it's gonna be, because I am going to add the stops alongside these stretches of National Road, because I don't want the buses to enter the actual suburban streets. I don't wanna, don't wanna cause any discomfort to these suburban dwellers. We'll add a shelter here, and then let's add 2 stops over here. And I mean, ideally there'd be like sidewalks and paths here enabling for easy access to the bus stop, but this is America, so I'm not gonna do that, because Riverview isn't necessarily the most progressive place in America as far as transportation options goes. I mean, it's obviously not, because I've completely ignored transportation options. Anyways, we've got a couple of stops so that we can bring the line across this bridge and out here. And let's get a stop or two on the commercial strip. And there's a little segment here alongside the avenue where we don't have any parking spaces for cars to enter. So I think in this case it would make pretty good sense to have our stops on either side. Part of the suggestion, of course, is to make it a BRT system, and I don't think we're going to do a full BRT integration, but I am open to having stretches with dedicated traffic routes. I think in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade this to maybe this 6-laner like this, to make sure that we've still got 4 lanes of car traffic moving through. We need moms, soccer moms and big trucks to be able to pass through here without any hindrance or issues. Otherwise they're gonna vote us out of office, and we don't want that. And then for the BRT part, we're gonna make these lanes bus and taxi only. Yeah, crazy BRT, huh? Anyways, let's see if this is sufficient for an initial integration, because we don't really have any We don't have any housing here alongside this stretch of the Riverview Expressway, not yet at least. So I'm just gonna check the existing line, and then we'll have a quick look at how we're actually serving this rural community here. So we're moving through the cookie cutter suburban district of Rosewood Acres. Then we are moving through Crestwood with a few stops on either side. These are probably just stop signs, not actual shelters. And then we move through the tiny town of Calway here. And we move east to a stop right before Palmer Way. And then we've got a stop in Birdsong Corner. And oh, this is interesting because we don't have a bridge crossing here. So should we still serve Birdsong Corner? That is probably a bit of a stretch because we need to cross here. I don't think we should do that, but I'll just try and grab the line here and then just map it up here, and then we'll see how it actually looks. Then hopefully we'll go through the roundabout here, and because we've got to stop over here. And yes, that followed the line I want. We're crossing the bridge, but we need to make a small stop here as well. Yank. Oh, okay. Bridge. Okay, well, I guess that's fine. And then we're not gonna go on to the expressway because we've got another stop here we want to serve. There we go. And I think this is probably fine. It's a bit of an interesting route, and then I will have to add the stop in here as well. And when you add it, just be careful, because if you don't have your mouse correctly placed, it can add it as a waypoint instead of actually adding the stop here. At least that seems to be the case. Okay, but I think I want the route to kind of follow here, so I'll add a waypoint here. So what you can use waypoints for is directing the line, you know, the actual roads the line will take without having to place a stop. So it is a nice feature after all. Just look at the amount of traffic here. So it's about 7 o'clock. So rush hour is starting to commence, and we're seeing a lot of traffic heading for the downtown cores. Very cool. And I think for the line that we've just expanded, I'm going to switch to a 24-hour line schedule, because it's going to be a little easier to tweak it and see how much traffic we're actually getting instead of having to wait for, like, you know, daytime for it to actually activate. And since it is rush hour, we're just gonna take a little look to see how things are holding up. So this area here is a bit of a trouble spot, and we will add a roundabout of all things. And I've got a, this is a weird configuration I've got here. I don't know why I have this. It's like a service spot basically, but that shouldn't be necessary. Looks a little weird, but hopefully this will help resolve some traffic. Then we've got, oh, that's a maintenance vehicle. They always cause a bit of traffic, so that's not an issue. Let's zoom out, see if we've got any actual queues. It's this traffic jam. So we've got a traffic jam here in Northside. It's not too bad, and it is middle of rush hour, so should be fine. I'm gonna check the previous problem spot up here. And it's not great, but it's a lot better than before. And wow, just look at the amount of traffic entering the city. The I-25 is just completely backed up. But we're not gonna change anything here yet. Or as of now, we are focusing on the buses. Now, as for the little situation here with Birdsong Corner, what I think I'm gonna do is move these stops up to this stretch of road here, and then just upgrade this dirt path to an alley and expand it so that the buses can actually just turn a left here and cross the bridge. So what I mean by that is just moving the stops over here, then maybe even providing some proper bus shelters. like this, and we'll just grab these stubs and move them. Yoink. Come on. There you go. And what just happened? Can I just right click and remove these stubs and see what's even... What? Oh, yeah, let's just remove this stub and bulldoze this. Why would it... This is so weird. So, okay, basically I need a waypoint here. And I need a waypoint here. Why wouldn't they just go straight through here? This is very weird. I'll just try and remove these two stubs and see how it starts rerouting. Hello? I have no idea what's going on here. Please, can I get you to go through there? And there you go. Okay, so a bit finicky, but I guess this works and I can remove this waypoint now. So very weird, but I think we've got our line in place and probably the amount of stops we'd be expecting from this rural area here. And we've got the stops up here we need as well, but it is probably gonna take a while for the buses to get here because we've got a bit of a traffic situation here during rush hour at least. And we're definitely gonna need to upgrade this junction. And I don't want to have roundabouts everywhere. It's gonna look maybe a tad too European then, but I'm definitely gonna try and do a few road upgrades at places where I think it might benefit the traffic flow a little bit. And this is probably one such place. Can I get an additional node here? That would be really nice. And then we'll just upgrade these segments and remove this stretch. So hopefully that can improve the flow a little better. And we're actually starting to see a tiny bit of line usage here, and it's very cool how the inner circle here kind of denotes how many passengers are waiting at each stop. So Broad Highway, where is this? Oh, this is actually all the way out here. So we do actually have a pretty sizable amount of people that are going to be commuting to work this very morning, or any business they might have in the downtown cores using a bus. So that's actually perfect. I guess I didn't expect that many people to actually be here. We've got a few people waiting at the next stop as well. So this is really nice, should reduce the amount of traffic generated from Kendrick. And this stop will have to be the one in central Kendrick, and it is. Okay. And we've got a stop here. So this is Sycamore Street, and I know just the stop that we're talking about. This is in downtown East Riverview. Yeah. No, wait, it's in downtown Riverview. That explains just... look at the amount of people here. Oh my god, yeah, we're gonna try to see if we can solve that as well. So with this line in place, we are gonna rename it. Line 4 is fine. Maybe we should just call it the RTA 4, but then it's going to be Riverview, East Riverview, Kendrick. And I'll name the other ones accordingly. And I'm just gonna show you guys the final line, and then if you guys have any suggestions for changes I should be making, then feel free to shoot away. You can take a picture of this with any changes you would like to implement and send it to my business mail, which you can find on the About page here on my YouTube channel. If you've got any suggestions, I'd be very, very open to suggestions, but I think we are gonna leave this line for now at least. So the downtown college line, which I guess is actually the RTA 2, and it's not downtown, it's just Riverview to Riverview College, is probably fine the way it is, but it's probably not sufficient for East Riverview's needs, even though the RTA Blue line, so the only tram line, also covers this area. because there is a ton of yeah, we just saw just how much demand there are for the stops here alongside Sycamore Street, and I'm thinking much of that is due to just how many people move back and forth between East Riverview and Riverview, and probably New Chelsea as well. So I think we're gonna leave the yellow line, the college line, as it is for now, but then we're gonna add an additional line covering East Riverview to downtown Riverview, and probably covering Barlow Ridge and Sterling as well. Because even though we have the bus depot out here in Sterling, which provides, you know, almost 5,000 jobs and more than 5,000 jobs here in Barlow Ridge, so more than 10,000 combined, we don't have any bus service out here, which is a bit of a bummer. I mean, you should be able to reach this place with public transit. So let's see, preferably we cover both areas. So we start with the end station in Barlow Ridge, which I think we're gonna place alongside Spruce Street. So we'll place that here. So this is the kind of terminus for this route, and then it's gonna go back, move across the I-25, and then it's going to, we're gonna have a stop. We're gonna have a stop here. Yes, and I'll add a stop on the, I'll add a stop here. I like when there's a bit of, you know, that it's not completely symmetrical. And then we'll add a stop alongside this street here where we've got all these office establishments. So I'll just add to stop here, and maybe a I'll just go the other side of the street. There we go. And then it's going to use some of the existing stops. But I don't actually have one here, so I'm going to just be placing that and just look at the amount of people here trying to make their way. I mean, I guess you could do a short trip to East Riverview, but they're probably trying to make their way into the big city. So it's gonna be nice getting an additional line to actually use the stop here, because this is just going to school, shopping, yeah, insane amounts of people here. So let's just get that line mapped out. Should be fairly simple, because I think we've got all the stops already placed that we'll be following. So we'll just move in here and we'll create an entirely new line. And we'll just grab from here. Then let's see. We've got, oh my god, look at the amount of people here. This is just insane. We'll add a stop here. Add a stop here, of course. This is just crazy. I didn't know it was this bad. I really didn't. We'll add a stop at the high school as well. So we've got two lines completely covering that aspect. Then we'll move across the bridge, and there's gonna be a stop here in Central East Riverview, here on 259 Summit Street. And then there isn't a stop until the tram stop down here. So maybe I'm gonna have a stop somewhere in here as well in just a second, but I'm just gonna complete the line first. So we'll add a stop here. Then we'll move through here and, oh, where am I? There you go. Get this stop in place. Get this stop in place. Barlow Ridge. Moving back. And back here. And I should probably add a stop here as well, so it's not just the tram stop trying to handle all this. And it doesn't actually look like there's a bus stop here either. Just a waypoint, so I'll probably adding one more. Definitely a bit of extra work to be done with this line here, and then we're gonna complete the route. So let's see, we definitely needed a stop here. And we definitely need to adjust some of these routes so that they're actually utilizing it. And the L1 has a stop right near the Riverview Central Station, so we're not gonna touch that just yet, but you can probably see that it's a wonky line that's gonna need a bit of work as well, as with all the other lines. And we wanted a stop here as well, actually. Somewhere alongside here at least, where we've got the tram stop, so maybe just, let's see. Could we just add it to the side of the street here? I think so, and then actually gonna add, let's see, can I, so this is the red line, and I need the yellow line as well. And I need the light blue or green, whatever it is as well, and there we go. And then over here, there's a very long stretch from 45 Summit Street all the way to 259, so probably right about here in the middle, we're gonna add 2 stops as well. And we're just gonna assign all the existing lines to this stop. So I think the idea here is that we'll get a pretty high frequency alongside these very, very dense avenues, and hopefully that's gonna resolve some of the massive demand we're seeing for the existing bus network. We are seeing a bit of a traffic issue here, so we're gonna give this a little crossing the same treatment as up here, adding a medium roundabout. Hopefully that's gonna help alleviate some of the traffic a little bit at least. We're starting to see the first, I want to say these are turquoise, but I am not strong with colors, so we could say light blue or green or whatever. We're starting to see the first of these departs on the new line, which will obviously need to hold something more specific. So let's see, if we follow the previous naming scheme we've got going, and I am open to suggestions, really am, then it's RTA some number. I can't remember what I have currently, so yeah. Riverview, East Riverview, and then it's, let's see, is it, what is it called? Barlow Ridge is the, we'll say Sterling, Barlow Ridge, something like this. Although I'll need to designate the line number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this is 5 then. RTA 5, great. And let's see, 1 bus currently en route. I'm starting to worry that I don't have enough bus depot capacity, at least not if we add any more routes. And it's gonna look odd if I add an additional expansion, I think. So I think we're gonna have to build an additional bus depot, and I would like to build it in the very opposite end of town, or at least far away from this one. Because maybe, just maybe, that can help spread out some of these spawning buses a bit on the routes, because I'm slightly annoyed about how they spawn at one go and group up, and then it takes a long time for the simulation to really kind of space them out. So anyways, Northport is of course our primary industrial hub of the city, so adding in a bus depot here would probably be a nice addition. So I think I'm pretty much just gonna add it in here, remove some of this stuff. It's probably gonna be a good change, because much of this is just simple zone stuff, and it's not that it looks bad, but it could use with a bit of extra detailing and stuff like that. Let's move in and see how much our bus depot is actually takes up as far as space goes. So I think we're actually gonna align it here at the very edge, and by default it provides 25 buses. We will enable the use of electricity buses, electrified buses. And probably add in an extra garage, because it looks cool, and we're gonna add it here, and maybe add in an extra garage around here as well, just for future proofing. We might even be able to squeeze in a tiny bit of industry, yeah. And we're already seeing some buses spawn, so it would appear that the addition of this additional bus depot was much needed, and this should at least future-proof our immediate bus demands in the foreseeable future. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we actually need a third depot at some point in time. So we're gonna take a little look again here at Sunnyside Avenue, because it's the middle of the day, it's not even rush hour, but traffic is pretty heavy around these parts of town, and it's one of the oldest streets. So from a roleplay perspective, it's one of the oldest streets, but in reality, it's probably the first avenue I actually added after adding this bridge in that very first early access episode. And it is so dense and so built up that I don't want to widen it. Realistically, it would be impossible to widen the streets, because you'd have to demolish, billions of dollars worth of retail and office space. So that's just not gonna happen. What we might do, I don't know how much of an effect that would be, but going with the suggestion of actually having a bit more of a few more BRT segments, then I might try and upgrade these segments to BRT, so that the outermost lanes where the trams also do their passage is off limits to regular vehicular traffic. The circle moms we talked about. So I'm gonna try, and we'll see how that actually works out, because there is a lot of regular vehicle traffic here as well. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how that actually works out. Don't think we need to do this stretch here, but I think I've covered most of this stretch as well. So I guess we'll just see how the traffic actually works out. The trams do a little weird glitchy dance. That's okay. This car is whoa. Wow, that's gotta provide a headache. So the car seems to have been aligned, the same with the buses. Oh, this guy is actually grabbing the spot here, so I guess the left turn makes sense in this case. This place is still slightly painful, but I guess for this stretch we might actually move ahead with, I guess not both lanes, because that's gonna just create a single lane over here for the regular traffic. That's probably a little too much, but I assume we could upgrade this to a BRT lane. And then I don't know how the car's gonna handle the right turn here. Maybe they just aren't allowed to turn right, but I'm sure they can figure something out. And yeah, oh my god, there's so much traffic here at all times of the day almost. And we've got a few ambulances stuck in traffic. Wow, that's bad. Especially because this is America, so you're gonna get bankrupted for each minute that passes. Anyways, we should move on to some more bus line changes, and I think the next line on the chopping block, or the one that needs a bit of adjustment at least, is by far the most busy line of the city, and it is the L3, as it is called by now. We'll probably rename it, but it's the green line, which is seeing 1,800 passengers and an almost 80% usage despite 24 stops and despite it being midday. So that really tells the tale of how busy this line is. In its current configuration, it starts or terminates, whatever you prefer, at the central bus station in downtown Riverview. Then it moves north through Briarwood. It moves through the new the Yard development. Then I don't know what's wrong with me, but it serves Old Port as well, because there are a couple of thousand jobs here. Then it cuts through Northside, which is primarily a single-family, low-density neighborhood. It cuts through Caldwell as well, which used to be a small village on its own. It's also got a commuter train station. North Caldwell, I know, I am creative, crosses the dam, and then it serves Northport, but rather curiously, it also serves the northeastern parts of New Chelsea. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove these segments of this bus line so that it just terminates up here on Northport and then goes back, and then we'll have a separate line to actually cover all this. We don't even have a bus line to serve New Chelsea, which is insane. It's a major city. But yeah, we'll start by just kind of cutting this down so that it only serves Northport. So hopefully it's just a matter of removing these stubs and then waiting a second or two for the bus line to kind of recalculate its route. And it doesn't always take a second or two, so it's gonna be interesting to see, but at least for now, I've removed all the stops and I have removed, I think, all waypoints. So now it should just be a matter of time before it does a little recalculation and removes this weird extension. And it has now realigned. So now it's looking a little more sane. But I think the line that we'll have to serve these areas here will also terminate at Northport, just to provide as much easy access from a lot of the city to this major job center. So I might do a sort of, maybe like a dedicated tiny terminal up here in the very northern part of the area. And it could be something really simple, like, I don't know, having like a dedicated, let's see, can we do like just like a dedicated road like this? I'm gonna remove this so that it doesn't get in the way, and then we'll add a curve, connect up to the road, yoink. We'll add a connection here as well, like this, and then maybe if we move in with the move it mod and do a little manipulation just to make sure this node is a little thicker so that the buses don't have to take or make like a really crazy turn. And we might even bring this back a bit. There you go. And down here it looks fine. Looks a little weird, but fine. Then I'll be removing the zoning here, I think, as well as this strip of zoning here, even though nothing will probably grow there. And then maybe if we go grab some surface stuff, we can go for the tiles 01, which is my favorite. And then just make a very, very simple configuration here. Add in some invisible pedestrian paths. I think this is fine. Gonna grab our paths. Oh wait, we'll just add a hang around area as well. And then the invisible pedestrian paths to connect the whole thing up. And then I'm wondering, we have the old shelter here, the old stop. Can I use the picker mod to just grab that? Or does it have to act as a stop? I'll just try and place that manually then. Can I? Yeah, I should be able. I can't because this road doesn't allow for it. Interesting. I'm just gonna check if I can grab the shelter. It's not called the shelter, it's called something else, obviously. No, it's gonna act as a stop. So it would be nice with a prop version of this. But I think, I mean, we'll live. Alternatively, we will do something else to make this a little more interesting, actually. Yes, we're gonna do that. I'll add a node here. I'll add a node, let's see, probably around here. We'll upgrade this, please. Can't, oh, we can't, okay. I'll turn this then into a regular 2-lane road. Trying to move from the very center here over here. We'll remove this. There's a bit of wonky segment here. Oh, that didn't connect. Just gonna try that again then. Like this, and then we will create this upgrade. And then we should be able to, yeah, we can add in our shelters. So I'll just add a couple. And hopefully the But yeah, the pedestrian connection is looking fine, I think. Sweet. Then I'll delete this station here, and I'll grab the existing one here and just place that somewhere. So there's an additional stop down here. Okay. So I'll probably I'll add it here, and then I'll remove this stop entirely. We don't need that. And then maybe just the tiniest amount of detailing. Few hitches. And a few nice oaks. So before I move on to naming it, we're just gonna sanity check it. And there's no sanity about this stretch here, so we're gonna remove that. Because that doesn't make any sense at all. We've got 2 stops here, right? Or at least we do now. So that should work, and this should correct itself. And we've got a couple of stops in here I placed in the last episode, but apparently I didn't actually adjust the route to cover those. There you go. Now it's covering this area, and I don't know why it's making... Oh, that's because I've got a few waypoints here. It's not an actual stop, is it? No. I'll just remove these. And it's got a stop up here. So I think this is looking pretty good. We've got a stop here as well. We've got a stop on this side of north side. So let's see, naming wise, it's the RTA 3 and it covers Riverview. Caldwell is probably the biggest town it crosses, and then Northport. So I am going to be doing a little digging into some of the most busy spots in the city. Busy stops, actually. So if we move here to East Riverview, then I know that here alongside Summit Street, it's really crazy. So we've got 762 waiting at 258. And in the opposite direction at 259, we've got 665. The average wait time here being 21 minutes. Oh boy. Anyways, if we click on this spot here, we see that, let's start with our new line here. We can see how many of these are actually waiting for this line here, which goes to the industrial areas in the south of East Riverview, Sterling and Barlow Ridge. So that's 236, and then the rest should be here, 429. So the majority of people waiting here are waiting for the yellow line. So to basically go to the college or this immediate area of East Riverview. So I assume it's gonna have a very high, let's see, it's gonna have a very high, yeah, the usage is 94%. And a ton of passengers. So this is probably a line where we might be able to actually just bump the assigned vehicles all the way up to 19 and then see if that can sort of help relieve some of this. But I'm also seeing, we should just check the other line as well. It's not seeing that much usage, so I probably won't be adding any more buses right now. And I wonder why this one is seeing so much usage at, you know, 1:30 in the afternoon. Maybe it's because the students have classes at different times or whatnot, but it's kind of interesting. Let's just cross the river here and move a little closer to Riverview and see how our stop here is holding up. So quite a few people, 340, but the average wait time is only 100 seconds. So it seems we're really starting to see the benefit of having Sycamore Street being serviced by 3 lines in total. I wonder if we move a bit further up, if we are gonna see the same thing. Average wait time here is 7 minutes, which is a little worse, but it's not terrible. 6 minutes over here. And that might be, I don't know if the tram traffic is better at alleviating this stop because we've got a tram stop right in. No, wait, we don't. We only got a tram stop serving the high school, actually. Oh, interesting. Never mind. Let's move a bit further up. Where do we have the next stop? We've got a stop all the way up here. How close are we? Okay, we're basically in the heart of downtown now. 195, 3 minutes of wait time, and 280 and 19 minutes of wait time. And why is this stop not served by 3 lines? Oh, okay. It's because the RTA 4 line actually serves Valley Street, where there is basically no passengers waiting. So we're in here at the Riverview Central Gardens, and this doesn't seem to be the most efficient setup. Preferably, we're gonna change this so that we can alleviate some of the traffic out here instead. Because that's pretty much the only difference that the RTA 4 line has compared to these other lines, and there's definitely enough demand for this line to service these very same stops as well. And of course it's gonna remove this waypoint, and it's gonna look super odd until it fixes itself. So let's just check. It now serves 366 and 363. Perfect. So I'm just gonna let the simulation run, because then hopefully this should align itself. And I'm sorry for the low FPS, but it's actually primarily when I open this transportation view. For some reason my frames just completely crash, but yeah. I kind of have to do it in this episode at least. Something that seems to be causing a real issues here at this very central roundabout is actually the pedestrian crossings, because the cars are yielding to them. So I'm gonna try and just remove them, and then I can add a crossing here, and we might add a crossing here as well. We've got one down here as well, which I think should be fine. And that seems to have maybe helped ever so slightly. We'll see if the pedestrian starts doing weird stuff. They shouldn't. There should be ample room to just take a little detour and get the, do the crossing you want to. And hopefully this can clear out the traffic a bit. Because it really was the crossings that was causing all the issues, it seems. There's a bit of flow now at least. And we've got a lot of traffic trying to push its way in here, so I'm curious to see if upgrading to an asymmetrical 5-lane configuration would actually help. It would add I think it would actually help get an extra dedicated lane in there. More lanes, more lanes. Then I can remove this crossing and then just keep this one in place. Although having a traffic signal is, I don't want that. But it's forcing me to have that. It's pretty interesting. Why is that the case? Oh well, maybe a dedicated crossing with some traffic light here isn't all that bad, because we don't have one here, so yeah. Anyways, we are gonna move on to updating the last line of this particular episode at least, because otherwise it's just gonna be way too long. And if we move in here, it's gonna be the RTA L1, so the very first line I placed in game, which is also completely useless. There is no passengers are waiting here. Nobody is on any of the buses. Yeah, I guess my idea back then, and this is a long time ago when, this was Riverview, what we can see here. The idea was that it was sort of a loop that could kind of shuttle people around town and get you to the central train station, as well as the Eastport industrial area, as soon as I built that at least. But yeah, the situation is that it's not used at all. So I think I'm gonna pause here, and then I'm just gonna remove, pretty much remove most of the line. So we'll just get rid of many of these waypoints here, because what we're gonna do instead is, I think it's just gonna go from the bus station and out to Southside and the Riverview Airport, and then go back. So it's gonna be a very simple configuration. But before I wrap up the episode, I'm gonna just zoom out so you guys can see the lines we have so far, so that you've got a much better chance at coming up with some suggestions in the comments if you would like to impact how we continue the expansion of the Riverview Transit Authority bus network. So I'm just gonna clean this up. And this pretty much just deleted the line, but I think that's fine. We'll just name it the very same thing. So I think the first thing we're gonna do is just check if we've got the appropriate stops. Do I actually have any bus stops out here at all? That doesn't really seem to be the case. But that's fine. We'll just move in and add some then. So we've got the main street here cutting through south side, and we've got a tram stop here. So I guess, adding buses to either side. Actually, maybe we should just move in here. We've got a lot of parking spaces here that I don't want to encroach on, so we'll just add some shelters here. And then, let's see, so it covers this office park as well, the tram tracks. That's probably a pretty good idea that we're gonna do the very same thing. So we'll just add our stop. Where did we? Yeah, there. Okay, so we'll just add our stop in here. And I know it's gonna cover pretty much the exact same areas as the tram line, but I don't see that as a big issue because the tram line continues way past the bus station, and there are actually quite a bit of passenger traffic with the tram line out here, so I think it's just fine. We'll just add a single stop here somewhere, not here, there's a parking space, but maybe here actually, right in front of the airport. And of course we've got the train station as well, so we got lots of transit options out here. Now let's see, 2 stops here, and then we need to cover the major avenue here. So we got a tram stop here, we'll add a bus stop in front of the school here, and I might try and add a few extra nodes so that this doesn't, remove all the parking. It's looking a little weird, I think. And then we'll move in and add to either side of the road here, and then pretty much just connect to the station. So let's just see if I can add in an extra node or 2 here. Isn't this where? No, sorry, it's over here. Okay, so I've sort of managed to split this segment in 2 so that there actually is a bit of parking space as well. Let's grab our bus line tool and find an appropriate spot here at the bus terminal. I think we'll grab this one here and just kind of map this out. Color-wise, let's go for a shade of purple here. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. So let's go for a shade of purple here. There you go. And then we'll need to name it, and should be fairly simple, I suppose. RTA1, Riverview Station, just Riverview South Side, and the Riverview Airport. And I think we'll assign electric buses to this one as well, just to kind of mix it up so that we have the different types of buses throughout much of the alliance. So we've got a bit of a mix. Some of these have electric buses and some don't. And it does actually seem that our 2 bus depots are kind of splitting up the buses on this line between them, which is pretty cool. So a bunch will spawn here, and if we move down south, way down south, a couple are spawned down here. So they're gonna enter the route at different segments, hopefully, so it's gonna take a little less time before they actually start being split out across the entire route and not just kind of bungle up in one big blob. So to wrap up, let's just get an overview of the current bus lines we've got going now, so that you guys also have a chance to come with some input and some suggestions. So we've got the RTA1, which we just created from Riverview Station through this area here alongside Madison Street, through Southside, and terminates at the airport. Then we've got the RTA2, which is from Riverview Station down through here, across the bridge, East Riverview, and then the Riverview College. Then we've got the RTA3, which starts at the station, crosses through the yard and the old port, as well as Northside, Caldwell, North Caldwell, and terminates out here at Northport. And then we've got the RTA4, which starts at Riverview Station, goes through much of the city, crosses the bridge here, goes through East Riverview, but then it enters these farmlands here. It goes through Crestwood, Caldway, Palmerway, crosses this river here, and moves all the way out to Kendrick, where it serves the main commercial strip as well as the northeastern part of the town, and moves back, of course. Then we've got that was line 4, the red line, and then we've got RTA5, which is this turquoise line. Actually, where does that? Oh yeah, it follows the exact same route as our college line, so that we've got 3 active lines covering this stretch here, which is very, very, very dense and where there's a ton of demand. And then it goes all the way out to Sterling and terminates at Barlow Ridge. So it also shares a few stops here with the college line, because this is Summit Street here in downtown East Riverview, where we saw a lot of demand as well. So I'm gonna let the simulation run for a bit before I shoot some cinematics. Hopefully that's gonna give us the opportunity to catch a lot of nice buses in these cinematics. But other than that, this is how the network is looking. So hopefully you've got something to move from here. If you want to provide some feedback or some suggestions for new lines, we obviously need more lines, because we're not even covering this big segment of the city, which we probably should. Maybe you want to see a new tram line even. I'm open to ideas, so I'm looking so forward to your comments. And I think with that said, there's only the cinematics left, so thank you guys so much for watching and all the support. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.